First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Kakudash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashem means in the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. In today's video, I'm just going to go through the spirit, go through a couple of news articles and, see what we could tie to prophecy, which at this point, everything you see on the news is prophecy. So this is on the BBC. It says, Germany says U.S. troop withdrawal foreseeable as NATO seeks clarification. And wow, look at that. Can't even look at news without having to pay. BBC, which ultimately that's what things are going to lead to, is that, to get any type of information, it's going to be behind a paywall or it's going to be censored. And it all goes back to, these Edomites wanting control. It all goes back to, Esau having that God complex of trying to be like the Most High. Because, when you go into First Thessalonians, actually Second Thessalonians, we could read about that. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3, it says, Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. Right? And the falling away is referring to the Israelites being scattered, which that happened, and the man of sin was going into these Edomites. Okay, the Edomites are the wicked that the Bible speaks of. And, one way we could prove this is you go into Isaiah, the 63rd chapter, if I remember correctly. Isaiah 34. Right, Isaiah chapter 34 and verse 4 says, And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down as a leaf falling off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. Now when you go into this is talking about the nuclear destruction of Babylon the Great. Right, the heavens rolling together as a scroll is Isaiah describing the nuclear mushroom cloud. Right, it looks like a scroll. And when you go into Revelation, the 6th chapter, that same sequence of, words, that scripture is reiterated right here in Revelation chapter 6 and verse 14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. Right, and this is talk about, Babylon the Great. Same thing. As the falling fig from the fig tree, right, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs. So this says, For my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Right, and that sword is going into those missiles. Right, it's going to come down upon these Edomites. The land of the Edomites is America, and they're also referred to as the people of his curse. Now when you go into Proverbs chapter 3, and you read verse 33, it says, The curse of Yahweh is in the house of the wicked, but he blessed the habitation of the just. Right, so they are the wicked. They are the nation, the lineage that is cursed. Okay, it says in Psalms that the wicked are estranged from the womb. Psalms 58 and 3, The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Right, so as soon as any of these Edomites are born, that's just their spirit. That's what they're inclined to, is to do wickedness. And, a lot of people have a problem with that because they think that, there's free will and, you could do whatever you want to do and that everyone can be perfect, and that's just simply not the case. Okay, the Lord has made it where there is a group of people on earth that is what they do. Okay, and that they don't know peace. Right, you go into the blessing of Esau, it was to live by the sword. Okay, Esau doesn't know peace. That's why, I think it was like 230 years America has been, or 250 years America has been in power. 230 have been in war, because these Edomites do not know peace. They live by the sword. And when you go into Romans chapter 9, Paul broke this down beautifully. Right, Romans chapter 9 And verse 11 it says, "For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of God according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. It was said unto her, the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated." Right? So Jacob and Esau were not even born yet. They didn't do any good or evil yet. But it was already written that one was going to be the lineage of the righteous and the other was going to be the lineage of the wicked. But what do people say? What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with God? God forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of God that showeth mercy. Right, so at the end of the day, that's what the Most High wants. And the simple fact is that he's made the Edomites to be the wicked. So let's read it in a different verse. Matthew chapter 1, or Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4, it says, "Whereas Edom saith, We are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, They shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh hath indignation forever." Right, so they are the wicked. And it's not just against Esau, that hatred, it's against the whole people, the lineage of Edomites. Okay? So going back to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, that man of sin is going into these Edomites, and they're being revealed. Okay? Look at the whole thing with the Epstein files. That's the man of sin being revealed. They're being shown for what they truly do. It says, "Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God." Right? So they go against everything that the Most High has placed. That's why you see America, it pushes wickedness. It pushes do whatever you want to do, which that's against what the Most High's mentality is. Most High said, no, only do this. America, these Edomites tell you, no, do whatever you want to do. And guess what? They want to be like the Most High, and they think that they're the Most High. And that's why the whole thing with the chip is ultimately, that's why they're pushing the mark of the beast, the chip, why eventually it's going to happen. It's because if they put a chip in everyone, now they're like the Most High. They control everyone, is the thought process. So it says, "Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now you know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the emissary of iniquity doth already work, only he who now letteth will let, until he be taken out the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming." Right, so these wicked are going to be destroyed. Okay, when you go back to Isaiah 34, that's what it's talking about, is the destruction of Esau, Edom. Okay, so just had to take a little sip. It's a smoothie. But Isaiah 34 and verse 6, verse 5 says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgments. The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidney of rams. For Yahweh hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea." Okay, so that's what's going to take place. Is America is going to get destroyed by nuclear missiles, and it's going to become a complete desert. Okay, you can read that when you go down. It says, "It shall not be quenched night nor day, the smoke thereof shall go up forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste, none shall pass through it forever and ever." Right, so there's not going to be a single person living here anymore. Right, it's going to be a desert. The wild beasts of the desert also shall meet with the wild beasts of the islands. Only the animals are going to be here. And it's going to be a testament as to what happens when you go against the Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh. What happens when you do wickedness, right? Because I guess Sodom and Gomorrah, wasn't enough. You can read that in, I believe it's 2 Peter chapter 3. 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 2 Peter chapter 2 and verse 6, it says, "And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow, making them an ensample unto those that after should live ungodly." Right, so Sodom and Gomorrah were an example of what happens when you live that lifestyle. And what happens? Fire. But these people are never going to learn. The heathen are not going to do righteousness until it's forced upon them to be righteous. And that's going to be in the kingdom of heaven. Okay, they're going to have to follow the law, statutes, and commandments, or else the Most High is going to punish them. The Most High is going to curse them. But it says, verse 7, and deliver this law vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For that righteous man dwelleth among them, and seeing and hearing vex his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. Right, so Lot was seeing, everything we see today. On a lesser spectrum, of course, because now they got the technology to really, ramp it up, but he was vexed. He's like, what the hell is this? Which I be in that spirit, daily when I see some abominations. I'm just like, what is this? Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai needs to burn this place. And the craziest thing is that you look at people in the world and they don't see a problem with that. I don't think it's just normal to them. This is why we need Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Okay? Destruction. Fire is the only solution, to what we're living. But I'm going to get one more scripture. I'm going to get that point about how the Most High is going to punish these nations if they don't get right. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 16, it says, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the feast of tabernacles. And it shall be that whoso will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, Yahweh of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not that have no rain, there shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite the heathen that come not up to keep the feast of tabernacles. This shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not to keep the feast of tabernacles. So they're going to have to follow the law, or else curses will come upon them. So I'll leave it there. Just went through the spirit, mainly talked about, how these Edomites are the wicked that the Bible speaks of. But with that, we give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem HaKadosh, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to your elect. Shalom.